So we are almost there, almost at the time that we are going to start installing clients, software update, and do stuff with clients. But we still need a few things to do. So what we are going to talk about is discovery. So discovery is in the administration, and we have this node hierarchy configuration and discovery methods. So we already enabled the forest discovery when we talk about the boundaries. So what it does allows us to do is create the boundaries and the forests that's parts that we know of, so that the configuration manager server, the domain that configuration manager server is part of, is connected to. We also have here enabled by default the heartbeat discovery. Basically this, if you go here to properties, runs every week. So basically is, imagine that you have a client connect to this configuration manager server. So once a week, the configuration manager client will tell the configuration manager server that clients connect to, say, hey, I'm still alive. This is my most current information. Okay, so I normally don't recommend to disable, it's always enable. And we have some extra stuff here. So let's look at what those stuff is. First is the system discovery. The system discovery can connect to your Active Directory, and you can specify which OUs you are looking at, and then it will create the records that we have in Active Directory into Configuration Manager. So if we go to Assets and Compliance, Devices, you'll see all the devices here. So right now I have only the server 002, that's the Configuration Manager server itself. But if I go to my Configuration Manager, let me open here Users and Computers, expand Classroom, Workstations, I think it's enabled. Yeah, I have like 3 extra computers. Under servers, I have another server, so I have 4 computers, and I have here also a domain controller. So I have 2 servers and 3 computers. But I have no idea about those computers here in Configuration Manager. If I want to discover their information, now I can do this through the system discovery. This will not automatically install the client. Okay, this is only discovering resources. Okay, so the same data I have in Active Directory, I will have in Configuration Manager. So to do this, let's enable System Discovery, and here I need to put which OU I will use. So in your case, because it's small environment, I use the root. It's not recommended, but to any environment that's going to discover everything. If it was this environment, what I would do, I would add the domain controllers. Then later on, I would come here and add the servers and then workstations. But because we are a small environment, I will use the root. I would discover any computer underneath. So if any child computer, any child OU, and I will use the computer account to connect. Most environment is also okay. If you are looking at a remote domain, you may need to specify an account that has the rights to read there. So in your case here, we're going to the root domain. And here, how often I'm going to perform the scan. So I'm going to do a full scan every 7 days. And a delta discovery, so any changes that has been made, so I add a new computer, and every 5 minutes. So now imagine that it depends on your environment again. You may need to disable delta or increase the interval for, let's say, half an hour, 1 hour. So larger the environment, let's say 5, 10, 20, 100,000 machines, you will need to change this. And of course, with those environments, you're not going to use the root for your discovery. And for the Active Directory attributes, so Configuration Manager will bring by default some attributes. So we have lots of here already out of the box. But if you want to bring extra attributes, I don't know, let's say last password, so you can just search and pwd last password set, so, and add it to the list. So then what's going to happen is Configuration Manager will be able to create collections, or let's forget it, but Configuration Manager will have this data on the database, and then you can use this in a way that you want. Okay, and the last one here in options is kind of a filter. So if you wanted to only discover computers that someone had logged on in the last number of days. So now imagine that you have a workstation that no one has logged on for 180 days. The machine probably is dead somewhere. You can just ignore that machine. And also we can only discover computers that has changed the password in the last, for example, 90 days, the default setting. So by default configuration, the computer connect to Active Directory change the passwords every 30 to 60 days. So if the computer has not changed the password in 90 days, then well, there is Active Directory problem. So should we bring this data to Configuration Manager? Maybe not. In this case, I will select both. So I don't want to junk on my Configuration Manager. So instead of have junk in Active Directory, so I should have cleaned up the Active Directory. But if it's still there, I don't want to see them in Configuration Manager. So I'm going to click OK. So what's going to happen now is we can do a full discovery. And I will click yes. But before that, I will, of course, open the logs. So right here. And we have the Active Directory Forest discovery. And soon we're going to have them, the Active Directory system discovery. So I click yes. And if you look at the log, soon we are going to have another log that for the system discovery. So hopefully it will not take long. And here we have AD sysdis. So if I open on SemiTrace, we can see here that we are going to search for this LDAP. And here we found some servers, so domain controller. We found SRV1, 2, workstation 1, 2, and 4. And we create the record. You can see here DDR was written for the server. You may find some errors here, for example, if the computer has no IP address and stuff like that, so never actually, you just created the object in Active Directory but never actually did anything else. So in this case, if we go back to Assets in Compliance, Devices, now we can have more computers. Okay, none of them are client. So let's get the workstation 1 here. If I go to Properties, and let's search for PWD. So I have here the last password set was on the 11. April 11 at 11:31. So it's quite right because I installed them yesterday. So we are on the 12th. So this data is coming from Active Directory. So it's not something new. I don't have any information. As you can see here, no other information about the client. The only information I have the client right now is here, that the discovery agent was a system discovery, the site and the time that we discovered this information, the Active Directory site. So everything that Active Directory has about this computer we discover. IP address, yes, is correct, or it was correct when that computer was on. What's the distinguished name? So what's the OUs? What's the OS? So lots of information about that computer. And here we have the OU the computer is member of. So classroom, classroom workstations, workstations enable. So there's powerful way to get data information from the configuration from the Active Directory to Configuration Manager client. Okay, it's not the only one, not the only way to have the client thing here. This option is not always used, so because if you as you can see here, client equals no, so you cannot do anything with this client. It's just their information. Okay, if you think about SLA and you do, for example, a report about how many computers with the software update 1, 2, 3, and you say right now it's not happening, your SLA will be almost 0 because we don't have any client. Well, it will be 0 because we don't have any client. But then those clients may be dead, maybe not. So just bear in mind what exactly you are bringing from Active Directory. Also here on the administration, hierarchy, configuration, discovery, we discover computers, we can discover users. Configuration manager is really user-centric, so we need to discover users. So I'm going to do exactly the same. So I'm going to enable the user discovery, add the location where the users are. So I could come here in classroom users. Okay, but now I'm going to select the root level. Click OK. How often we are going to do the scan? So every 7 days and every 5 days for Delta. Again, depends on your environment. Those may not be required. And Active Directory attributes, I can add extra attributes. So I'm going to add here a physical delivery office name. So in Active Directory, if I go back here to my Active Directory, and I get the user 01, for example, I have office, user 01 office. So I want to bring this information as well. So that is the physical delivery office name we just added. And click OK, and I will do the discovery as soon as possible. So here shortly we are going to have then a new log. That's going to be the user log. So it's going to be AD Active Directory USR, the user, this the discovery. And here has just appeared. And if I open, so we have all this information. Okay, and here we have some information, type not ignoring stuff, account is disabled, so we are not bringing. Okay, and here we have some accounts for service account. Why should I care about service account in Configuration Manager, for example? This is because our discovery is looking at the whole tree, okay, not just a specific OU. And what happened? Let's go back here to Assets and Compliance. Let's go to Users. As you can see here, I have 9 users. Administrator, SCCM admin, some service accounts, 2 users, and another workstation admin. So maybe 7 of those I don't need. So I could actually have filter there. If I delete anyone from here, as soon as that is the next scan, so in up to 7 days, it will then add this user back. So make sure your scan is well prepared. So let's get this user, so user 01. If we go to properties, we can see here exactly the same agent time. Now instead of system, we have the user. We have distinguished name and lots of informations here about the user. Okay, and we have here physical delivery office name, user 1 office. And now if you go to user 2, let me just filter here by physical, and we have user 2 office. So there are some data coming from Active Directory. So what we could do is, let's say you have every single user has the rights department, manager, or whatever. So you could start then having your configuration manager delivering a report or application, depends on this information. Okay, you're going to see later on. And the last one, note we have only 9 items here. But what about groups? I have like a group called sales, HR, or whatever it may be. So I can start discovering groups. They're almost similar the way that we have with the others. So with groups, we have two options. We can discover groups within groups. So I can come here and say which groups I want to discover, or I can do through location. I'm going to do through location here. I'm also going to do LDAP for the root. Again, this depends on your environment. I do not recommend doing through the root. How often I'm going to do, and some options. So because the group can discover computers as well as users, I will have those options here for computers, so filter computers. So every time I do this, it will discover some attributes about the objects on the, so it will discover the group and every single object inside the group. And one of the things you can enable is discover membership of distribution group, so exchange email groups, so not just security groups. It's not your case, so I will leave just the filter that we have done, pooling, shadow, and general. Okay, and click OK. And yes, because the first time we are doing the discovery. And of course, we are going to have here soon another log. Okay, has just appeared. Here we have the AD SG this, so security group discovery. So now we have here all the information being populated about the groups that's discovered. And what's going to happen if we go here to security? Remember that we have only 9. Now we have lots of groups, and you can see here there is the icon is a bit different. So we have lots of groups. And if I go, for example, for one of the groups, I can see here that is being discovered by group discovery agent, date and time, and so on. If I open the user 1, let me just filter here for user 01. Okay, you can see that the properties are different. So if I just cancel the search and I open here the group, let me put it down side by side, there are things that equals, and there are many other that's going to be only for that specific resource class. So we have user resource and user group resource. Okay. And here we have the group names. This is only domain user. If we look at, let me just go back here to administrator, we can see here the administrator has lots of groups, or supposed to have groups. So we can have here lots of groups. This user is a member of many groups. So we can have kind of nice data coming from Active Directory. Okay, so can we use this data somehow? Yes, we can do this lots of time. We can use Configuration Manager to pull out data from Active Directory, and we can have some reports. We can use this data, and of course we can filter to do stuff. For example, deploy software, deploy customization. So you don't need to deploy the same software to everyone. You can deploy software to for example, HR users. So because they only have, so if you have some data that's going to identify those users, it's easy for Configuration Manager to use as well. So I hope you like this one, and we'll talk in the next one for more customizations.